see you, Jason. 1 minute.
Hi, how's it going?
Hello.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. What about, how can you hear me?
Perfect.
Okay, fantastic. Hello. Well, nice to meet you via Zoom.
Yeah. How do you think everything last night went?
It was a fantastic chat.
Yeah.
Really
Oh,
great engagement, such good
mhm.
content. I actually just compiled our analytics infographic.
Oh, yeah, cool.
We had over 161 contributors throughout the day interacting
Wow.
with our Millennial Talk hashtag, in
Mhm.
addition to over 28 million timeline deliveries
Really? Wow.
and over
29.
1,289 tweets.
Wow, that's awesome. So
So I
how does
will
it
send
actually
this to you,
compare
of
to your
course.
how does
This
that compare to your other stuff?
This is definitely, I would call a robust chat.
Hmm.
On average, we generate between 20 and 30 million impressions. So
Hmm.
getting closer to 30 is definitely our bigger chats. So
Yep.
that's very exciting. And we had no additional influencer alignment. So Jason, you rocked it out last night.
Well, it was awesome. I think I was really impressed with just like the level of contribution, and the community was like super dynamic and everything. And there was a lot of really insightful stuff that people brought up. So I'm not sure what we're covering exactly in this Facebook Live, but I definitely want to give shout outs to a bunch of people with some of the stuff they said.
Oh, well, so just to give you an idea,
Hmm.
let me actually get our speaker view here. Good. Speaker view. Screen speaker view. Gallery view. Yes. So what you could expect from this Facebook Live, which is always why I say, hop on with me a few minutes early.
Hmm.
I call these our Millennial Talk after chat. So of course, there's only so much conversation we can have in a 200 character tweet, right? So
Hmm.
we get to go a little bit more in depth or dive into some of the conversations a little deeper together on Facebook
Hmm.
Live. This also will give you an opportunity to really introduce yourself and also introduce Animoto to people who might not be familiar with Animoto. And of course, I'll open that conversation and ask you to share more about Animoto. Just before I confirm, I just want to make sure I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. Shao?
Shower, like shower. Yep, shower.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. People
Great.
butcher my last name all the time. People like to say Croast instead of crossed. um, so we just get into a little bit more in-depth conversations. I will absolutely carry the live stream, so you never have to worry about what is she going to say next or what am I supposed to do. I will always kind of feed you or seed plant for you the next question. We're really just bringing the Twitter chat to life on Facebook Live.
Okay.
So
Cool.
I have our script open in front of me. I screen grabbed a bunch of your tweets to refer to some of the content you shared on Twitter. And it's really just a very casual conversation about one of our favorite topics, which is video and digital content and social media, and how entrepreneurs and business owners listening can really utilize the power of video, and of course with Animoto. So that's kind of in a nutshell. My Facebook Lives, especially for our after chats, I like to just say, like, we're keeping the conversation going. Building off of our momentum on Twitter. And then, of course, once our video is processed, we could share the video file to everybody
Awesome.
as well. I just have to, cut it. So, because we're recording already. So I just cut it in the beginning of our intro and put a nice little transition at the end. And I will, of course, send that your way as well. And you could share and repurpose however you would like. But that is really it. Any questions in particular before we start? We do have a few minutes.
No, but I did, since we have a few minutes, I thought maybe I'd just give you some quick feedback because I ran into a couple small issues. Nothing that was a huge deal, but just to make things a little smoother.
Yes.
One thing I found out is that tweetchat.com It was a great tool for following stuff, but not for posting, because I couldn't, unless I couldn't figure it out. You can't include, I couldn't figure out how to include video or images with my tweets in that. And maybe I just couldn't find it, but it wasn't obvious to me. So I actually just went back to regular Twitter to do most of my tweeting. So that was just one quick note. And then the other minor thing is the doc that you sent out with all the kind of like preparation notes and best practices and stuff. That was super helpful. The one thing, tiny little thing worth clarifying in there, if you're going to use that with other folks, is how you were saying to pull up the separate page to follow you.
Yes.
That was super helpful. I think it would just be good to clarify pulling up your personal handle and not the Millennial Talk.
Yes. I'm sorry, I did not.
Because I was watching that page for a while, and I was like, how come there's nothing going on here? And then after a while, I realized, oh, you meant follow you. Because there is a Millennial Talk page.
Yes.
Just two minor things, but since you're doing this a bunch, I figure I'll give you that feedback.
No, I always love hearing feedback. That's the first time I ever had someone go to the Millennial Talk handle. Usually because, I'm the host, so the host is through the @Chelsea Cross handle, but I'm going to further clarify that in my document.
Got it. Cool.
And
but yeah, it was awesome. I could like barely keep up with everything, but it was intense. I was literally the fastest hour of my life.
I love to hear that, and that is why I always suggest that your answers are created in advance, because how could you think and type and also participate that fast? It's impossible.
Yeah, I ended up spending probably like a couple hours afterwards just like going back and really just like reading and processing everything and liking and commenting, because like during that hour it was just like a tornado. I was like, wow. But it was fun. It was really fun. It was fun to be part of. I've kind of passively watched a few before, but it's different when you're like in the middle of it.
Totally. Well, I'm so happy to hear that feedback. And I always say you don't understand what a Twitter chat is, or especially a Millennial Talk chat, unless you participate in it, because there's only so much you can explain versus you have to experience to truly understand it.
Yeah, totally.
Now that you totally have the lay of the land, hopefully we'll see Animoto and your handle maybe in Millennial Talk a little bit more. So I'd love that.
Yeah, of course.
There's so much to do together. I've been talking to Rebecca about a bunch of ideas, and I will definitely keep the conversation going with her as well.
How often do you do these? Is it like every few weeks or?
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday. Okay. So you have a full. And how far out in advance do you have these planned?
So we're about 3 months out. And of course, for some more of those real-time sponsors chats that are like, our campaign is from X to, X to Z, like, can you fit us in there? Then I'll try to, maneuver a few things. Like I pushed a chat to make sure that we can get Animoto yesterday. So some chats are a little flexible where it's okay to kind of revamp calendar. Some are hard. They're locked in there. But we do forecast several months out. And this way we get to, plan accordingly further in advance, because there's a lot of assets that go into building each chat. So, and the scheduling of them all. And sometimes, there's more than one expert. So we're scheduling multiple people for one topic. And then different sponsors have different creative. So, it definitely does take a little bit of lead time. But every Tuesday, and if there's not a chat, and it's usually 3 times a week, not 4 times a week.
Okay. Yeah, well, super impressed with everything, all the marketing leading up to it. I love how you're using video, and I was super impressed with how engaged you were, with the whole thing and everything you contributed. It was really awesome. And then this whole follow-up is just like the perfect kind of bookend everything. So nice job.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for that compliment. It's music to my ears, truly. So we're going to start in just a few minutes. So if you want to grab some water, any last little tweaks, now is the time.
Okay.
Just so I go live through Zoom. Reason why I do that is because I get to have the recorded file through Zoom, and it doesn't just live on Facebook, so that we get to repurpose this video ongoing. So So there's a little bit of a delay when I hit live. So what I just say to guests is, be nice and quiet. And as soon as you hear me say, hey, everybody, welcome to Facebook Live this morning, we're live. So just wait for my... Yep, exactly. And then I'm going to, of course, properly introduce you, co-founder and chief video officer, Jason Shao, like shower, Shao. And then we're just going to jump right into the conversation. So it's really as easy as that. I always just do give you a little heads up on that little lag time.
Perfect.
And then I am also going to copy and paste our lead nurture link into the live description as well.
Okay.
So I'm just going to go lower the air. My husband and I are moving, so I'm in a temp office space.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I kind of work out of a closet every day as of right now. But I'll be right back.
All right.
Okay. All right.
I'm just trying to adjust some of the shades here because it's sunny. I'm by a window and it just got really sunny. All right.
We definitely have like 2 minutes for any fine tuning you'd like to do.
Anything in my teeth? I'm always like, anything in my teeth?
Very important.
So are you moving out or you just moved in?
We are moving out of this apartment and moving into our first home.
Congratulations.
First-time home buyers. So.
Wow.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you.
So where is that?
We're home base in Delray Beach, Florida.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
My husband's career in real estate is here, and I'm primarily between New York and Florida. So
okay.
I get to escape the cold when I'm sick of it.
Well, next time you're up here, definitely make sure to swing by and say hi. And
I'm actually planning the next trip in April, so I'd love to meet in person and come chat in the office for sure.
Perfect.
Okay. We have our where's your office in New York?
We are kind of downtown Manhattan, in an area near Astor Place. Kind of, you know your New York, so Astor Place. Kind of like NoHo is what they call the neighborhood now.
Totally. I'm a New York native. We're all originally from New York. So.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yes, runs in my veins.
Okay, got it.
And we were on the West Coast for 4 years, and I felt like such a fish out of water sometimes. Some people told me,
really?
Could you slow down speaking a little bit? And I was like, wow, I am not in New York anymore. That's for sure.
Were you in the Bay Area or were you in the North? Where were you?
We were in West Hollywood to start, and then we were in Santa Monica, and my offices were in Santa Monica. So
okay, interesting. Got it. Yeah, that's a different pace there.
Yes, it was totally like the startup scene gone Santa Monica. So it was instead of Silicon Valley.
Yeah. Yep.
Such a great experience living, on both coasts and building your network.
Yeah.
By coastal network, where it's at. All right, Jason. So we are about to get this party started here.
Okay.
And if something happens in the middle of the live stream, we're not on Good Morning America, so I always kind of play it off, or, sometimes my dog will bark and I'll be like, Gigi, I'm on a live stream, relax, so it's very conversational, and I think that's what people like most about it. So
cool.
So I just say, you know, use all the elements around you, however you need to.
Like when the UPS guy comes in.
Like that, exactly,
Okay.
which is why I mentioned it. We wait to see if there's any more noise before we go live. Give UPS guy a few more seconds. Excuse me, I'm going to fix my lipstick. Okay. I think it sounds like the coast is clear over there.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, fantastic. And we're going to talk the Lord anyway. So I'm going to hit go live. We're going to have that weird 10-second delay, and then you will hear me do the complete introduction.
Great.
3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, we are live and it is Wednesday morning, April 4th, and we are having a hashtag Millennial Talk Twitter chat after chat, gone Facebook Live, and we had such an incredible Millennial Talk Twitter chat last night with love when that happens, when you hear your audio in two places. We had such a fantastic Twitter chat last night. I still feel like my eyes are a little crossed because the conversation was just flowing so fast last night. Our Twitter chat was powered by Animoto, and we had the Chief Video Officer and co-founder of Animoto, Jason Chow, who's here with me on Facebook Live. How fantastic was last night, Jason? Tell us about your experience in your first Millennial Talk. It was so great having you. You had so much information last night that we're gonna, you know, further talk about and get into here. But how was your experience last night?
Oh my gosh, it was awesome. Well, so first of all, I just want to say thanks for having me as part of that. It was awesome. I was so just impressed with the level of engagement and all the there just so many incredibly thoughtful comments. I loved it. It was interesting being kind of at the center of one of these. I've definitely been part of Twitter chats before, just kind of as a passive observer, but being in the middle of it, it was definitely intense. But it was definitely the fastest hour I've probably ever experienced, but it was just amazing. And then I spent like hours afterwards just going back and really just absorbing, there's so many great comments and insights, and I really just loved it. Your audience is just amazing.
I am so happy to hear that. I always say it's music to my ears to have a first guest, you know, have that type of feedback and experience. And I always say, why can't an hour on the treadmill go as fast as the talk chat, right?
Oh my gosh, we'd be the fittest people on earth if it was. Yeah, it was amazing. It was really cool. It was really cool.
And so just a reminder, hashtag Millennial Talk is our Twitter chat every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you haven't joined us, put it on your calendar for next week. Last night, Jason and I talked about genius video tips and tricks to boost your social media marketing. Nobody could talk to it better than Jason, being the Chief Video Officer over at Animoto and co-founder of the company, I may add. And being that 2018 is the year of video, I was so excited to have a larger conversation about social media marketing and using video to power our social media. Familiar with Animoto real quick. Give us a little bit of a nutshell explanation of what Animoto is.
So Animoto is we're an online video creation tool, and we're just all about making it super simple for people to create amazing videos, especially for social media easily. So it's like a drag and drop, super simple tool. We have all these great kind of pre-built storyboard templates that are all based on super performant kind of winning videos that you can just drag and drop your content into. You can start from scratch. But really, we're just all about making sure that we give businesses and people a great way to stand out on social media in a way that they're not having to spend tons of money or hire a bunch of experts or learn complicated things like Final Cut Pro. So, and we just at the heart of it, we just really believe in the potential of video. We just honestly, genuinely believe video is the most compelling and effective way to communicate what's important, and we want to give that that power to everyone. That's what we're all about. So
when I discovered Animoto, the revelation within me, the excitement was so overwhelming because although I've been working in media and marketing for over 10 years now, I do not know how to edit. Don't know how to use Final Cut Pro, barely even know how to use iMovie. And I was so adamant about not learning how to edit because I didn't want people to ask me to do that on top of everything else. And there's not enough time in the day, right? And I was like, let me specialize in what I specialize in. I'm not an editor. So when I discovered Animoto, being a newbie to editing, I couldn't believe how easy Animoto made it for me to put together marketing videos and even entertaining videos, storytelling videos that I could use for so many different purposes moving forward in personal branding and marketing of my services. So for those of you who are like me and don't know how to edit, don't use Premiere Pro, iMovie, all of those crazy, complicated and expensive programs, then Animoto is definitely one to check out. So let's talk about some of the amazing golden nuggets that we were sharing through last night's Twitter chat. First things first, coming from the chief video officer, Jason, there's so many people out there that want to create video, that know they should create video, but they're scared or they're paralyzed by overcomplicating it in regards to what do I create, how do I create it, how much do I have to create. Maybe I have a little bit of I'm a little camera shy. So for those people, what words of wisdom do you have in just getting the ball rolling in developing video for your overall content strategy?
Yeah. I mean, it totally makes sense, right? That when you're hearing about video marketing, it sounds like this just crazy new thing you have to learn. And it's understandable. I mean, if you think about, we often, the people that we talk to, like you and us and everyone as part of your audience, these are often we call them the do-it-allers, right? They really kind of run every part of their business, right? So they're trying, and everything is just changing so quickly. They're trying to stay on top of things, and they're like, 2 years ago, you told me it was all about Pinterest. Last year it was Twitter, and now you're telling me video marketing. Like, they're just like, how do I keep up? So what I love to tell people is I just say, don't think of video as a whole new type of marketing, because it really is not. Video is a way to amplify your existing marketing. So you can really think about what are all the things that already work for you, and that could be, in terms of specific content. Is there a tagline? Is there a blog post? Is there a certain kind of, is there a certain image or video clip or email message or a pitch, or even thinking about the things that if you were standing in front of, someone or a prospect, like what are the things they ask you? What are the things that you tell them that work for you? Use that as kind of a starting point, and use video to amplify what already works. If email works for you, if social works, if content marketing works for you, if sales works for you, whatever it is that already works with your existing marketing, search or targeting, video can be used in almost every, to complement almost every channel. And there's at this point, it's just kind of commonly understood that video performs better. But if you still don't believe, there are just tons of studies and stats that show, if you include video with email, if you include video with landing pages, if you include, the term video in your subject line, like everything just performs better. And it makes sense. It's not just some tricky, new marketing thing. It's just because that's how people prefer to consume their information now. So we as businesses and brands just need to start evolving and making sure that we are communicating in the way that people want to get their information. So.
Exactly. I'm just going to take a quick pause to make sure that we are indeed streaming on Facebook. I do see that we're streaming here on Zoom together, and it says we're streaming live on Facebook, so I'm just making sure that our conversation is not being broadcasted. However, we can always reshare this recorded file here and cut this little delay out. But I think we have to be straight. I
think we might be, because I think we probably have other people here who I hope are watching who would tell me if we aren't.
Yeah, when technology works for and against you, everybody. Okay, so we're going going to keep this conversation going because I do see that we are live on Facebook, and we always have the ability to share this video afterwards.
Yep.
So one of the, I loved how you were formulating a lot of your tweets last night. And let me tell you, if you think that video is not a top of mind conversation, we generated over 28 million timelines last night to timeline deliveries and over 1,200 tweets. So this, we are not the only people talking about video. Video is really a must in marketing and digital marketing today, especially as advertising becomes harder to pop through the clutter, and traditional advertising is not going to cut it anymore. We have to use storytelling. We have to use native advertising. And a lot of the way that we can do that so well is with video. So you said video is the most effective and compelling way to communicate what's important. And I think that's ultimately what we have to remember. What's important to our product? What's important to our services? What's important to our brand? What's important in the message that we want to communicate? And you have, for example, share, announce, explain, reveal, educate, inspire, storytell, demo, spotlight, entertain, recap. Even just with those one words, it gives you so much food for thought about the content that we really can go and create. And one of the phrases that I love that you said last night, Jason, was save the best for first, not the best for last. Save the best for first. Give us an idea of really what you mean by save the best for first.
Well, so while I say, that video is a way to amplify all your existing marketing, there are definitely, some specific best practices that we see and that we've been learning, on social media. So I think one of the most important, and this is pretty intuitive when you start talking about it, is to really make sure you start your video with the most impactful message or content. And so that's why I say save the best for first, not for last. So this is not like a movie-going audience where they're sitting in the theater and they're going to be there at the end of your video, or maybe watching till the very end. Oftentimes we know how people flip through they're just flying through their feeds on their phone. Most people are on social on their phone, they're just flying through, and you really need something. Zuckerberg calls it thumb stopping, right? It's like what's going to catch your attention and make you want to keep watching. So you have to give them something worth stopping for, and you have to give them a reason to keep watching. And I think in general, it's probably a different type of thinking than most how you might think of writing most articles or stories, where you kind of build an arc and you kind of build up towards a finale or conclusion. With video, especially like social, and with people's attention span these days, you almost kind of have to think in reverse order. Just like, kind of by definition, you will have 100% of your audience watching the beginning, and then from there, it's only going to go down. And I think a good rule of thumb is, half the people aren't going to make it past the first 10 seconds of your video. So make sure you put all put all the most important stuff up front, whatever it is you're trying to show or share or explain or tell. And if it's relevant to them, they'll keep watching. But don't waste those first few precious seconds. Save the best for first.
And it's amazing how just a few seconds really makes a difference, And that goes for multiple things, not just for video, for content. I mean, it even goes for how fast your web page loads. There's a bounce rate of if your video, if your piece of content, if your link does not populate within a 3-second period, people are bouncing out. So the first 3 to 10 seconds of your video, you should treat as if that is the most important moment, because you ultimately want to capture them to the very end.
Yeah, and I kind of remind people, because they might think, oh, but I'm not a video editor, I don't know how to do this. There really are a lot of parallels in all other types of marketing, and so this is something that is that should not be unfamiliar to a lot of people. So like when you think about, like you said, like how do you get people to open an email? Well, you have to have the right subject line. How do you get people to click on the link? Well, you have to have the right message or the right keywords. How do you get people to want to keep reading a blog post? You have to have the right title, the right image, the right opening. So with almost every form of marketing, there is some kind of contemplation of how do you engage, hook people in, and give them a reason to keep, to keep continuing with what you want them to do. And video is no different. So it's not a whole new type of marketing. It really is an extension of probably what you're already great at. So you should feel fully confident that you can do awesome with video.
One of the great stats that Animoto shared in the chat last night is that 85% of Facebook videos are watched with the sound off. So to boost your views, you'll want to, as Facebook puts it, design for sound off, but delay with sound on, which is,
I love that. Yep.
Because a lot of the narration could be the storytelling, but that's what I love about Animoto is how great your graphic templates are for being able to really put words on the video screen so that the words can narrate. It's transcribed, if you will. So what are some of those tips especially being at 85%, that's the majority, right, of Facebook videos that walk for sound off. Tips for producing content with sound off or sound on.
Well, I think, it's probably as simple as not just imagining, but experiencing your video the way that probably most people do, and actually make sure you watch it on your mobile device. I think it's kind of something that sounds intuitive, but when you're on your computer, you're like, oh, well, that probably will look good. But, I'd say it's worth taking the extra minute just to check to see what it looks like on your phone, and what it looks like without, hearing anything. So I think from there, you can kind of, pretty intuitively think about what will make that video more effective if it doesn't have sound. If you have someone in the video talking, it's always great to make sure you have subtitles. Even if you don't have someone, you can use text, big bold text to make sure that you're kind of carrying your message across. Music is still important, like we kind of say, like it might not be kind of the need to have since most people aren't watching, but if we want to delight, I think that music is one of just kind of the most basic ways you can elevate the kind of impact of your video. So for those who are watching with sound on, it's great to make sure you pick the right music that is on brand and that fits the message that you're trying to explain. And then I think probably the most important thing that people need to remember about watching on mobile, this isn't specific to sound off, but people should be, I make all my videos square now. I used to be a loyalist to landscape, especially because I used to be a TV film producer in my prior life for MTV and stuff like that. And so I was just like, this whole square thing is a fad. But really, not only is everything square, but the basic fact is that square takes up 78% more real estate on your phone. So it just takes up a lot more space. And when you're flipping through your feed, it just is that much more visually impactful. And so I just tell everyone, because most people are watching video on their phone, make your videos square. And there's all sorts of stuff. We've done all sorts of studies, and we have all sorts of stats about how much better square performs. But square is really just what people should be thinking about because everyone's watching on mobile.
That's such a great tip, especially there's so much conversations with, think mobile first, and especially if you're pushing content to that millennial and Gen Z demo, they're consuming most of their content on mobile, and just the aesthetics of the content, landscape versus square, could make a difference in consumption or click-through rate. So great tip. The other conversation within last night's chat that I think people were so excited to really learn more about is how to integrate video touch points into the overall digital consumer journey. Now that consumers are shopping more than ever online and shopping more than ever on mobile devices, think of how video can be such a powerful vehicle to spread brand awareness, to really take the consumer from the awareness stage through the retention stage. So you have some great graphics, and I'm putting together an Animoto recap of all of our top tweets from last night, so everyone can see a lot of the tweets if you missed the conversation from last night. But let's talk a little bit about, the power of video in the consumer journey and some of the most strategic ways businesses and entrepreneurs can do so right now.
Yeah, that was by far my most favorite question and topic and discussion. And there was just so many great comments and insightful, information that was shared. And especially, I also have to give a shout out to you, and because you posted your, is it your Tra Digital Consumer Journey Map, right?
Yes.
And I think it's the pinned tweet on your Twitter page. So everyone should go check it out. It is amazing. It's so rich and full of information. That's all about the customer journey and where video touch points can be incorporated along the journey. So everyone should definitely check that out because that's just amazing. But I think in general, why I love that topic is I think sometimes people, when they're just starting out with video, sometimes they think, well, okay, let's see, video, it's like I have to, videos to kind of interrupt or to sell or to lure people away, or, that's not the right that's not the right mindset for what video really could and should be used for. Video is really a form of communication. And when you think about all the different ways and all the different ways you could and should be communicating with your audience and all the different messages at all the different stages, video should be a part of all of that. And the big picture comment the big picture kind of, I think, insight I really love is if you think about what's happening on social now, more and more of that customer journey is being fulfilled before people even get to your website, right? So I think maybe just a few years ago, the game was get as many people to click through to your website as possible. And that's where the kind of the learning and the consideration happens. But now more and more with the sophistication of, targeting and with embracing things like video, you can really take the conversation. You can take your message to where the conversation is happening. You don't have to wait for people to get to your website. So you think about all those different parts of the customer journey and how can you, keep that conversation going with the folks that will care about that message well before they have to, take any action or get to your site. And if you think about all the different ways you can communicate with folks, it's not, really only a very small percentage of, videos I think should be about selling. It's really about engaging. It's about piquing people's interest. It's about giving them valuable information.
Right.
It's about sharing. It's about showing them, how to do things. So there's really just a number of different ways you can approach video to really keep that conversation, to start and keep that conversation going with your audience.
Absolutely. So many entrepreneurs and clients that I get to work with, we immediately go right to ROI and dollars and cents. And what we all have to remember is that if people don't know our brand or product or service exists, then how will they know to go buy it? Yeah. And that is exactly what we should be using video for, is to, make people aware of our product or service, the value we provide to our clientele, and storytell them through why ultimately you should decide to purchase this versus this.
Absolutely. And yep.
You had some great graphics too regarding the buyer journey of what videos make most sense in each buyer stage. So like the awareness stage, which is ultimately so critical because if people don't know you exist, how will they know to buy? Think thought leadership videos. Think what statistics and studies, create the aha moment for a potential client or consumer. How to blog teasers. There's so many ways to get creative with the way that we create video content today.
Yep. And I think one of the conversations, actually, this was happening throughout, but a bunch of folks in the Twitter chat last night were commenting on trust and authenticity and using people, real humans, real people, using you in videos. And so I was so appreciative of that, and I'll just give a quick shout out. There was like Jim Hoff, Victoria, Doug Campbell, Michelle Valtis, Nicole Smart, Vicky Warren. There was others, but every time people started talking about authenticity or using people and really engaging people in a human way, I immediately gravitated to it. And why I think that's important is because authenticity is ultimately what equals trust. And at the end of the day, if you can build trust, then you've accomplished, what 90% of what you need to with not just video, but with marketing. And I think video is just one of the best ways that you can deliver that sense of authenticity and trust and connection with your brand. So I love that people were talking about the human element and authenticity. And because, the reality is, if we fast forward 5-10 years from now, platforms are going to change, apps are going to change, formats are going to change. But what's never going to go out of fashion, but what's always going to be important is people's gravity towards authenticity. So if you're always kind of pursuing that kind of connection, that authentic, genuine connection with your audience, you will never be irrelevant.
That is such a perfect segue and so important to my last question for you, Jason, or the last nugget I want to tackle is on the personalization and making sure that you are not blanket speaking to people. You're really understanding those micro audiences within your overall consumer group so that you're further speaking their language or further being the solution to their needs and their pain points. And that's where the humanizing marketing, that's my favorite part of where we're going. I think that marketers just used to blanket market to millennials. We all think and act and purchase the same, and that's so not true. And I think, and that brings up the conversation of really understanding your data and analytics. The more you know about your audience, the more you could serve them in the content you deliver. So real quick on your thoughts on, entrepreneurs really taking into consideration understanding their data and analytics that much more as we move further into 2018, because again, knowledge is power. The more we know, the more we can create and convert. Yeah.
Well, I think, inevitably, just with how simpler video is getting to create, with tools like Animoto, but even just the ability to target different audiences. One of the huge opportunities for business, especially small businesses, is being able to target different segments of their audience. So for example, maybe something that, you offer, one of your sub-segments is like the fitness audience, and another is real estate, and another is hospitality. You could actually craft that same video with the same message, but in 3 different ways that really kind of speak more precisely to something that, say, a fitness professional might resonate with, or someone who works in a restaurant or at a hotel, or someone that might be involved in real estate. And so that power is really great. And I've even people now are even taking it down to the individual level. Like if you happen to, rely on sales or have a sales team, you can send personal, quick personal messages, and you don't even need any fancy equipment. Just take out your iPhone and send a quick personal message saying thank you. I can't tell you, this has started happening more and more, but when I ever get a personal video where someone is actually talking to me, I'm just blown away, and I can't stop thinking about it, right? It's just so different. It stands out. It's very personal, right? So more and more, I think you're going to see video getting more customized and more tailored. But I think foundational to all that, though, is just always to remember that video is still an extension of your brand. And you had a great video that kind of highlighted all the things that that we should consider about our brand when we're creating video. So even though you might be creating all sorts of different types of videos and all sorts of different messages for different segments and different types of videos along your buyer's journey, make sure that you're thinking about how can we really embrace video so that it's an extension of your brand. So it's who you put in front of the camera, the location, where you're at, the colors you use, the font, the typeface, the copy that you use, the music that you use, because all that really represents your brand. And when they're starting to see more and more of your videos, they will start to understand your brand and really, hopefully come to love what you are, what you're sharing with them, not just some of the content, but in terms of the holistic brand that you are offering. So
absolutely, and the aesthetics through our video is such an identifier that your
yes.
piece of content could be on whatever platform, but the brand is still consistent, it's still cohesive, and people start to identify your brand just by seeing it because of the abilities that we have, like with an Animoto, to keep our branding so consistent, through each video, through each touch point, each platform, and to be able to tweak them accordingly to serve a different channel, to serve a different audience is so doable. And that's why I can't say better things about Animoto and the ability that it's given me in my business on a budget and in time, and to be able to turn around videos in a timely manner. There's no such thing as waiting hours to export footage with Animoto. The other thing I love about Animoto is the ability to just lay over a soundtrack, and you don't have to worry about license rights or, can't I use this music? That's obviously FTC and GDPR crackdowns. You cannot get around those elements anymore. So, Jason, it was such a pleasure having you on Millennial Talk last night. It was so great
so much.
to chat with you here on Facebook Live. Definitely be on the lookout for my recap of all of the amazing tweets that were shared from last night. So much great information. And hope to do this again very soon, Jason. Would love it.
Yes, I loved your group. Everyone was so great. And I also remember one more shout out, because I remember this. Matthew Owen was just all over the Twitter talk, the Millennial Talk last night, and had so many great comments. And I went back and read and reread a bunch of his comments about making sure you're picking the right, keywords and that tie to, search traffic. And I also really appreciated his comments about, yes, data is important, but don't forget about just your own intuition about what works, because really, data is definitely valuable, but your creativity and your imagination and your empathy of what really is going to work with your audience doesn't always come from the data. It will come from you and your mind and your heart. So I really appreciate it. So I just want to give a shout out to Matthew. I was super impressed with everyone, and just loved that whole conversation. And Chelsea, I just want to thank you for all the kind comments, and for just being so on top of organizing this entire thing. It was just fantastic. So much valuable content there.
Thank you so much, and thank you for also acknowledging the Millennial Talk audience, because Millennial Talk wouldn't be as fabulous as it is without our community, without our brand tribe, and Matthew's going to love that shout out. He is the retweet king. And again, thank you so much for joining us. Also, just be sure, Animoto has a really awesome freebie for download, completely free. It's a video cheat sheet, all different video tips for different platforms like Facebook, like Instagram, like Twitter, like YouTube. There are different aspects to take into consideration, or different elements to take into consideration per channel. So I love your quick infographic of a cheat sheet for all those tips for channels. So you can download that right here in the caption. You should see it to the right or to the left, one over here. But I'll be sharing that link again, right somewhere over here. Jason, thank you again. And be on the lookout for our recap. There, again, so many great things to get empowered from all the information and insight shared last night, because video is not going anywhere. So now is the time to get comfortable with video and learn how to use it to the best of your abilities for your business. So thank you again, Jason, and have a good day, everyone.